Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, young minds who have made up and they've come here in spite of their engagements. So, the topic that I'd like to speak here today relates to the qualities of a good human being. And the reason that I have selected this topic is that unless we are good human beings, we cannot be good Muslims or good Christians or good Jews or followers of any religion. So humanity stands at the basis of all religions, and that is why we have to concentrate on the bonding and the basic traits that we as human beings have. So I'd like to present before you a very short talk which relates to this very aspect, that we have to create certain qualities in us as human beings, and once we do them and once we are able to nurture these qualities, then of course not only are we able to be good representatives of this human fraternity, but also we would be people who would be passing on this torch to the next generation and play our role in making them good human beings. So the first thing that I'd like to present here is that as far as the Quran is concerned, and by the way, I can also say that this is a forgotten lesson from the Quran. The Quran at one place very explicitly says that mankind has been created from a single parent, and that is Adam and Eve. Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min zakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu, which means that humankind has been created through a single pair. And that single pair, of course, is Adam and Eve. And the reason that the Almighty has pointed this out is the fact that we must first understand that as human beings, all of us are equal. And regardless of religion, race, creed, ethnicity, we are, in the eyes of God, human beings. And therefore, because we are born from the same parents, so we have to realize that we must not regard ourselves to be superior to other human beings in any way. Because as the very next verse points out, that inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, that the most noble among you is the person who is pious in the eyes of God. So remember, piety or nobility is something which only God can decide. Only God knows who's the better amongst us. We cannot claim to be better than other people. We have to be humble, we have to be down to earth, always look at our own faults and appreciate the good traits of other people. And our first connection with our fraternity has to be on this basis of humanity. And you can clearly see that this basis of humanity actually gives you a very large circle because all human values are universal. Every human value that you come across, and there is a big circle of that, like justice, truth, simplicity, kindness, compassion, selflessness, all these are basic human qualities. And all human beings have these qualities. All that is needed is to upgrade these qualities, is to polish these qualities, is to spot these qualities in other people and come closer to them on the basis of these qualities. And such is the vast nature of these all-embracing qualities that people who do not even believe in God, who are Gnostics or atheists, even they believe in these universal qualities or these universal human values. So the first thing that I'd like to present before you is this forgotten lesson of the Quran, that before we think who we are as Muslims, we must think first that we are human beings. And our first connection, or let me even go a step further, our first religion is humanity. Our first connection to people is humanity. And if we are able to realize this, our level of tolerance, our level of appreciation will always increase. We will always welcome everyone with open arms. We would think that all of us who have been created have been created by God Almighty, and as such, they deserve equal respect. The second important quality of a human being that I'd like to present before you, in fact, it's a negative thing which we need to overcome, and that is that we must not judge people in any way, because we have to realize that judging people is the domain of God. So judging people by their appearance, judging people by their faith, judging people by the way they speak, judging people by the way they live, This is the sole prerogative of God. As far as we are concerned, if we have to judge anyone, then let it be our own selves. So judgment has to be confined to our own selves, because regarding others, we do not have any data. Or let me say, we have insufficient data. We look at the appearance of a person. We look at the partial circumstances that come to our notice of a person. But we don't know what is in the person's heart, how he or she is thinking, what he or she might be facing, how she or he might be connected to God. So this is data that we are not privy to. So it is essential that in this case, we always give the benefit of the doubt to the other person. And if we have to be strict, if we have to judge, then let it be our own selves. And unfortunately, I do find, and I think you would agree with me, that whenever we sit together, we discuss things, we gossip, we do all sorts of gupshup. One of the prominent features of our gupshup in our conversation is that we are always judging people by what they are doing. And I think this one single thing has to be concentrated on. We must try not to judge people, not to make any comments about them, and always have an eye on our own self. I mean, it's easy to discuss people, it's easy to find out their own faults, but it's most difficult to judge your own self and to have an eye on our own faults. So to keep an eye on our own faults, forget what other people are doing, because as you would know from the Quran, God is not going to ask you about many other people. Yes, some of the people for whom you are responsible, yes, they could be in that list. But mostly God is going to ask what you did to yourself, how you behaved. Were you a good father? Were you a good mother, a good sister, or a good brother? So that is most important, that we have to be good in our relationships. We have to be good neighbors. We have to be good human beings. And when I say this, obviously I have this in mind, that regardless of faith, ethnicity, color, creed, any division that we have created is something that we have to rise above and appreciate the other person on the grounds of the fact that he is also a creature of God. He or she has been made by God and therefore deserves equal respect. The third quality of a human being that I'd like to point out is the fact that, you see, all of us, when we live in this world, we face trials, we face sorrows, we face all kinds of adverse circumstances, and we are bogged down. We get depressed. We tend to lose hope and faith. But there's one thing which can really boost our morale. It can really motivate us. And that is what for want of a better term, I term it as gratitude therapy. To always count what we have and discount what we don't have. And if you want to be a person who's satisfied in life, who is not bogged down in his life, is not always disappointed, not always picking faults, not always complaining, then always look at what you have. And I can tell you that what we have easily outnumbers what we don't have. And I can just start off by pointing at my own eyes. I mean, look at the gift these eyes are. If you get up in the morning and you're able to open your eyes and see the world around you, I think you are the most blessed person on earth. Imagine yourself closing your eyes, shutting down your eyes, and then trying to do the routine of life. In a few minutes, you'll feel the importance of those eyes. And then you can go on and on. Look at your own body, look at the various other functions, the fact that you can climb stairs, or you're able to walk properly. Look at people who cannot walk properly, people who cannot climb, people who are blind, people who have lost their eyesight or their faculty of hearing. We have all these examples around us. So all that we need to do is become grateful individuals. If we have this gratitude in us, I can tell you we'll be the most fulfilling individuals. We will always be appreciating what we have. We will always look that God has blessed us with tremendous qualities, and there are so many things that we should be thankful to. And actually what this does is, it actually is a biggest antidote to that depression or that feeling that we might have about us, that we don't have a certain thing or we are deprived of a certain thing. So deprivation is something we need to also understand. It is a trial from God. It's a sort of test from God. And if you are deprived of certain things, then there are so many other things that you are blessed with. So this is another important lesson that as human beings, we need to keep on revising, and we need to keep close to our heart that we have to start our life, in fact, start our day by being grateful individuals. And at the same time, when we go to bed at night, let us once again count what we did, what good that we did, and what good that came to us during the day, which will make us even more satisfied and grateful. So starting your day with gratitude and ending your day with gratitude is such a beautiful feeling that you will have a very peaceful sleep, inshallah. And when you wake up, again you follow the same routine. The third important quality of a human being, I would say, is the fact that, all of us have to be truthful and just individuals. So truthfulness and justice is something which lies at the base of all human qualities. Truth and justice are something about which the Quran at one place has said that you have to bear witness to the truth and you have to bear witness to justice, even if it goes against your own self, if it goes against your own parents, and if it goes against your relatives. So the words of the Quran are وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوِلْ وَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ, which means if bearing witness to the truth is something that goes against your interest, which means that you might lose something, you might anger someone, even then you have to speak the truth and side with justice. So you must have heard of this very famous adage that I'll speak the truth and nothing but the truth. We often give this undertaking in a court, and I think that this should not be just an undertaking in the court. It should be a lifelong motto. And I'll speak the truth and nothing but the truth, and maybe I can add a few more sentences that I'll always abide by the truth and I will always side by the truth, which would also mean that there are people around you who might be speaking the truth, and there might be people who don't have the courage to speak the truth. But once you see someone speaking the truth and you are able to side with him and you are able to align yourself with him, you can simply see that just one person can make a difference. And this is what we can also call the power of one. One single person, if he or she is able to take the lead in speaking the truth, in being just, will make many other people, they'll get inspired by this action and they might come and side with that person. So don't ever think that speaking the truth or maybe siding with justice is a small thing. No, it's a responsibility that we have, and at the same time, it is an inspiration that we can give to other people. So speaking the truth, siding by the truth, and always being just to people is a motto that we should have as a lifelong motto. And the Quran actually goes one step further, and it says that this justice and this truthfulness that we are talking about must not be confined to your own selves. Even to your enemies, you have to be just and truthful. And I think it's a beautiful standard that all of us might need to revise and revisit, that truth and justice, they don't know any human being, human discrimination. Truth and justice is something which has to be upheld for every human being. And as I said, the Quran has made this clear, and the words of the Quran are لَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا, which means that the animosity of a nation or your enmity with someone should not make you should not induce you to be unjust to that nation or to that person. Even with your enemies, even to people who are bad to you, who are evil to you, who might be jealous of you, who might have done bad things for you, even for them, you have to be truthful and just. So this is a lesson that we also need to know. One important quality that I would also further like to point out in this regard is that as far as our life is concerned, you can see that we live lives in a way that seldom do we think that there is a purpose to our lives. I mean, we're born, we get older, we get married, we have children, we go for vacations, we have all sorts of outings. But we need to ask this question to ourselves. We need to pose this question to ourselves, and that is, do we have a mission in life? Do we have a purpose in life? Is there any objective for which I am living for? And I think that is one thing that all of us must revisit and keep on revisiting, that we must have an aim in life, something that we can do meaningfully, maybe contribute to the society that we live in. And the best way to do that is to find out your own talent that you might have. So you see, everyone has been blessed with some talent or the other. Socrates, the famous philosopher, is reported to have said that, know thyself, look in yourself, reflect on yourself. And perhaps what he meant was that you must realize what you have in you as a talent. And you don't need to be an Einstein or a Newton or a Kant or any famous person to make a difference in this world. Even a person, even an ordinary person can make this difference if he or she realizes the talent and the aptitude that he or she might be having, and then polishing that talent. Look at a seed. It's a very small thing. When you sow it in the ground and you properly nourish it with water, with manure, that small seed has the potential of becoming into an immense tree, a huge tree. And that tree then gives shade to all other people. So imagine that you yourself, all of you, all of us, we have that seed of talent. All that we need to do is to discover it at the right time, to nourish it, and you'll find that small tree becoming a blossoming tree. So discovering our talent at the right time and then using that talent for the benefit of the society that we live in, for our own benefit, is something which makes us feel useful. And it's always good to contribute to the cause of this world. And as I said, you don't need to be a hugely famous person to do that. Ordinary people like all of us, we are sitting here, we can make a difference in the lives of other people and in the society that we live in. And I often see that there are so many small examples of people doing good things, and at times they go unnoticed. There are people who might be feeding children, street children. You can see people around us who are going into prisons and talking to the prisoners and maybe giving them things. You can see children and adults going to hospitals, to hospices, and making a good day for the people who are there, the patients. So you see, these are small things, and people who do these small things, these are small acts of kindness, as you can say, they have huge impact. And it is these people that we can rightly call that they are the unsung heroes of this planet Earth. They are not very famous personalities, but they are small heroes, and they are unsung. They are not famous, but then they are people who can make a difference in the lives of other people. So coming back to the original thing, that we must have a mission in life, and the best mission that we can set ourselves is in proportion to the talent that we have. Whatever talent that we have is something that we can polish and then use that talent to fix an objective, to fix a mission in life, and then do something for that mission. So often, as I said, the talent that all of us have, it just goes unnoticed. It goes wasted. So as parents, as teachers, as people who are responsible, if we are able to help our children, the next generation, in discovering their talent at the right time, and also asking them to fix an objective in life in line with the talent that you have. And as I said, it's never too late. It's not just the children that should have that objective, or we should encourage them to keep an objective. All of us sitting here, whatever our age, even today, even now, right now, we can take this decision and analyze what best we can do, and then use that talent and aptitude for the betterment of humanity, for our own contribution to the society, however little it may be. But remember, it might be a drop in an ocean, but those small drops make an ocean. So your contribution can always make a difference, and never think that it's a small contribution. So as human beings, another thing that I'd like to point out as a very important facet of humanity is that all of us have been blessed with a very, very, I would say, as a quality, all of us have been blessed with this quality by the Almighty, and that is the faculty of conscience. All of us have a conscience. Our own conscience tells us what right and wrong are. So one thing that all of us should make a commitment to is that we must always follow the voice of our conscience. Our conscience never lies. It always tells you the truth, unless of course it's lulled to sleep, which is seldom the case. In most cases, maybe 99% cases, your own conscience will tell you what right and wrong are. So we must follow that conscience, even if that conscience makes you do things that might make your father or your mother or your close ones angry with you because you're doing something which is in line with your own conscience. And this is a person who, when follows that conscience, the line of awareness regarding good and evil, he or she is basically doing what God has ordained him or her to do. Because you see, this conscience is innate. You don't need to learn what right and wrong are by going and asking some mufti or some cleric. The Almighty tells us in the Quran that the awareness of good and evil, right and wrong, is innately found in our own selves. So all of us have that awareness already. All that we need to do is become more aware to it. So as people who are conscientious, we have to be individuals who always take the lead in following our conscience. Another trait as a person and as a good human being that we must always aspire for is compassion and being charitable towards others. So you see, all of us, we think of our own selves, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, we think of our own family, we think of our own future, we have our own life commitments. But you see, one more thing that needs to be added to this concern and to this thinking is to think about other people as well. And think about people who are around you, who might not be that blessed as you are. To look around people who might need your help in any way. And remember, help is not just through money. It's not just the pocket. I mean, it's not just to empty your pocket. Another very important area to help others is just to have time for people. Maybe sit with them. Maybe smile with them. Maybe hear out what they have in their mind. So being charitable, I would say, is a whole attitude that we have. So it's not just about money. Yes, money is important if you're able to afford and give it to people who need this money. It's a very good thing. But remember, as I said, it's not all about money. It could be about time. It could be about the effort that you can make for others. It could be asking other people, if you're not in a position to help, they can help other people. So I would say that being charitable is an attitude. And one thing that might help you if you would like to, spend money on charity, in charities or on charities, and also like your children to be charitable vis-a-vis spending on other people, then there is a small tip that I have learned, and I would like to pass it on to you as well. And that is that we as adults, when we give pocket money to our children for their maybe monthly expense or their weekly expense, add a small amount to that pocket money and tell your child that you have to spend this money for other people, and use that money to spend to people that you might come across, maybe charities that you might come across, to other needy people, so that your child at a younger age has this habit of not only spending on his own self or her own self, but for others also. So pocket money, of course, is something that he would spend on himself or herself, but that charity money that you can give over and above is something that will make him realize that, yes, I have to do something for others as well. So as I said, this behavior of being charitable, there are some things further that I'd like to point out, and that is always we should remember one thing, that at times we have something very small to share, maybe charity in a very small amount. So let us not shy away if you even have a small amount, because that small amount can always make a difference. If you have a couple of pounds in your pocket and you might think, well, how can I help a person with such a small amount of money? Don't ever think that, because you see, your test and trial and your intention relates to what you have. So let us not shy away if we even have a little amount. The other important thing regarding charity is that it should not be bragged about. It should not be boasted before other people. It's something which should be between you and your God. Charitable, to become charitable, to be a person who does charity a lot, if you start talking about the charity that you gave to other people, it will spoil that spiritual elevation or enhancement that you got. So charity itself is a beautiful, I would say, spiritual experience. And if you start boasting about your charity or telling other people what you did for other people, it's going to spoil that spiritual elevation that you got by the very act of being charitable. Similarly, another very important area here is that There are people who might come to you to ask for their needs, and there are several people who do so. But then there are several people who have such a high self-esteem that in spite of being in need, they don't come to you. I mean, they have this self-esteem. They might sleep with an empty stomach, but they won't have the strength or the courage to go and ask people. So it is here that we need to be especially careful and keep an eye on such people, and you'll find them right below your own nose, maybe, amongst your friends, amongst your relatives. They could be right close to you. So don't think that it's always people who come to you who need that charity. In many cases, you need to find that person who is not going to come to you, but you have to reach out to that person, because his self-esteem is not going to make him beg for money. So it is, in that case, it becomes our responsibility to go close, to come to that person, and as I said, do our best through our own efforts. The last thing that I'd like to point out here, and after that, of course, you can ask questions, is something which I call the pinnacle of all human traits. Something which stands at the top of all human traits, to my understanding, and that is selflessness. To become selfless individuals, to be individuals who think about other people before they think about their own selves. Obviously, this is not something of an obligation, but certainly something of a recommendation, that you are always out and about and see what other people need. And it may be that at times you sacrifice your own needs to fulfill the needs of other people. And this is something which you will find rampant in all great people. All prophets of God, all righteous people, even people that you might find in your own families and friends. This trait is something which distinguishes them from others, that they put other people before their own needs, before their own selves. And you'll find, I mean, such small examples. You see, whenever I hear that a fire brigade passing by my car, or when I'm walking on a pavement and I see a fire brigade just oozing along, I always picturize people who are going to save lives. And it comes to my mind that, well, this person who's now running around with that car is going to jump into a fire, maybe put his own life at risk and try to save other people. So you see, you can find these examples of selflessness, of sacrifice, of altruism right in front of you. You don't need to look at bigger examples. These are people who are right there in front of you. A fire alarm. I do remember that in that 9/11 incident, there were people who went into that inferno. I mean, they would be knowing full well that they might not even come out. But look what they had in mind. I think what they had in mind was that they might be able to save a couple of individuals. So I think this is something which is so, it at times goes unnoticed. But we need to notice such things. And you'll find examples of selflessness all around us. Another thing that I'd like to bring to your notice, and I think many of you might already be aware of them and might be even following them, is the concept that there are areas in which you can be selfless and charitable even when you pass away. And that is what we call organ donation. So as individuals, if we are able to donate our organs when we are living, for example, our liver, our heart, it could be our eyes, skin cells. There's so many things that can be useful to other individuals once we pass away. So this is something, another thing that we might always think, that while we are living, obviously we can be charitable and selfless, but it's not just while we are living that we can be charitable. Even when we pass away, our organs can be beneficial to other people. And last but not the least, I think the biggest example of selflessness is someone that we see maybe every day in our own lives, and that is the person of your mother. I think the biggest example of selflessness is the personality of the mother that all of us might have witnessed in our own homes. So our mothers and grandmothers. So I'm not precluding fathers in any way, but I think mothers have a very special place here. That the amount of sacrifice that they do, the extent of selflessness that they manage is simply at times unbelievable. And in order to be inspired by real life examples of selflessness, I think the best person to look to or look up to is your own mother. And if you are able to do so, you'll realize how today, in spite of all our evils, in spite of so many bad things that are going on today, your trust in humanity will be revived. That even today we have these shining examples of people who are able to live for others and even die for others. So, ladies and gentlemen, these were a few traits that I wanted to discuss before you. And as I said, my purpose of discussing these traits before you was that unless we have these traits, because these are traits of human beings, we cannot become good Muslims. So becoming good human beings is the first step towards becoming a good Muslim. Or, as I said, becoming a good Christian or a good Jew, whatever your religion that you might follow. Because humanity and human values stand at the basis of all religions. So let us make this commitment to our own selves today, that we will try our best to become high achievers, not only in our professions, not only in the paths that we follow, but also as human beings. The traits of a human being that all of us cherish, and I think all of us, we have those traits in ourselves. I mean, they're just lying latent at times. The potentials are there. It's just a question of polishing them, being sensitive towards them, and bringing them out for humanity. So with this, I end my talk, and I'm available for any questions that you might have. Thank you very much.